Right, another special edition of the SmarkCast. I'm going to dedicate this whole show to Sean because Sean, I was corresponding with him through email. He's a regular watcher, and I've answered a ton of his questions on here. He actually gave me the whole idea for this show. Not the SmarkCast, just this episode. Where I was telling him that I had no ideas, I had no questions. Raw was decent, but it wasn't good enough to base 30 minutes on. And he gave me the idea to do fantasy booking. He knows I hate fantasy booking, but he put a little twist on it that I liked. He said, why don't I fantasy book up until WrestleMania, but then tell what I think that WWE is going to do. And I thought that was brilliant. I broke out my handy-dandy notebook, Blue's Clues, and I wrote down, since it's going to be 4 hours, we're going to have about 10 matches, including the pre-show. I wrote down 10 matches that I would like to see on the show. And first off, on this WrestleMania, I think I would book this to where every single title changed hands. So I will go ahead and say that I think right now the WWE has a few double-edged swords going on right now. What I mean by that is lose-lose situations, but they're not full lose-lose. They do have ways out, and I am going to go ahead and start with the main event. So right now we have at Fast Lane Reigns versus Bryan, and this is one of those double-edged swords I was talking about. You have Bryan win, you kind of devalue Royal Rumble and pretty much say that Royal Rumble was worthless, but you still make the crowd happy. But if you have Reigns win, you piss everyone off because no one wants to see it. I want to see Reigns versus Lesnar or whatever, and that's how I would fantasy book it. I'm sorry, this is the way I would do it. I would have Reigns go over clean. Reigns goes over clean, goes to WrestleMania, faces Lesnar, beats Lesnar clean. That's the way I would do it. And that is the way I think that WWE is going to do it, but WWE is going to want to do it to where there isn't a whole lot of boos. Because right now, I think what they're going to do is pretty much chalk Lesnar and Reigns off as a loss and then hope it's a good match, which I think it will be. And they're just going to stack the crap out of WrestleMania and say, okay, you don't want the main event, but we're going to give you 9 other matches that you're going to want to see. Which I think is a good idea. But there is a way out of this situation. It's not what I would do because I don't think it's the greatest idea, but what you want to do is transfer the heat. You want to take the heat off Reigns, put it on someone else. And what they can do, and like I said, this is a bad idea, but this is what they can do. Ziggler interferes and costs Bryan the match. Why? I don't know. Just have him be jealous or something. I don't know. And what that does is takes the heat that Reigns would get for beating Bryan and put it on Ziggler for causing Bryan to lose. Now this would have to turn Ziggler heel, which I'm not a fan of. I really don't like that idea because personally I don't think my next match coming up for WrestleMania, I don't think Bryan and Ziggler need a feud. I think they need to just be like, look, let's just tear the house down, go to Triple H, say, look, you're not going to book us in anything, you've held us down this whole time, so how about you just let us fight each other, let us tear each other apart, we'll do you a favor and take each other out. And then they have probably 5-star match, probably the first ever 6-star match, and I know that's impossible, that was a joke. But they tear the house down, and I think that Bryan Ziggler would definitely be something to do at WrestleMania. That's how I would book it. I would not have Ziggler interfere with this Reigns match because I think that's a bad idea. I don't think Ziggler needs to be heel right now. I think it would kill some of his momentum. But that is what I think that WWE is going to do. Just take that heat, and I think it'll end up doing more harm to Ziggler than it will good. You know, whatever. I think they want Reigns to be the star, and they don't care who they kill in the process. But that's okay. So I think Reigns would go over at Fastlane, go over Lesnar at WrestleMania, I think nothing happens, and Ziggler just says, "Look, we're not booked for anything. Let's just destroy each other." So there you go. That's how those two matches through the gate right there. How I would book them and how I think WWE is going to do it. WWE is going to make a feud out of it. Next, Sting Triple H. I would definitely have that at WrestleMania because I think Sting, of course, needs a match at WrestleMania. And if anyone can put on a great match with him, it's Triple H. The game can have an excellent match. How I would book it is how I think WWE is going to book it. I may put a little twist on it, but I would do it Taker style. I know it's a rehash of what Taker and Triple H did long ago, and people may look at that like, oh, they're just stealing this, but I think it would be brilliant just to have Triple H come out there, talk his shit, and say, look, hey, I called you out and you're not out here, and just have Sting walk to the ring, look at him in the face, and point at the WrestleMania sign. That's the end. No words. That'd be an excellent way to do it. They could start a feud, which would be my next match here. They could start a second feud with this. Have Triple H talk his shit, have Sting come down there and not say a word. Because if you think about it, think about the 2 appearances Sting has made. He hasn't said a word yet. Kind of cool. They could start a feud with this, though. They could have Sting come out there and then Triple H have all the authority come out. Big Show, J&J Security, Seth Rollins, everybody just come out. And kind of have Sting take out everybody, but Rollins just comes out of left field and is about to attack him. You have Orton run in, RKO, Rollins setting up the new feud, because I think that match needs to happen at WrestleMania. And that one, I don't know how WWE is going to set that up, because every time I think that Orton's going to be on a show, he isn't. So I'd say they'll probably set it up somehow at Fast Lane. I would love to see it. I think Orton and Rollins could put on a stellar match, and I still think that is going to happen at Mania. Just like all these other matches, I think they're all going to happen. WWE's going to do it their way. I have my way of doing it. I don't really have any other way for Rollins and Orton to happen, but there you go. But Rollins and Bryan, on a side note, had one of the best Raw matches I've ever seen. I wish they could have gone much longer. And I know they're going to have feuds in the future at pay-per-views. They're going to be headlining pay-per-views all the time, and I'm perfectly okay with that. They could headline every single WWE pay-per-view for an entire year, and I would not get tired of it. I've seen them in Ring of Honor fight each other, and it never got boring. I'm going to see them in WWE fight each other, and it's not going to get boring. I'm going to love it. So, that's a great match. Ziggler had an excellent match with Bray Wyatt. And that's a good segue to the next match. Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker. I don't even need to fantasy book this one because WWE is killing it right now. I mean, Bray Wyatt is now he is clearly talking about the Undertaker. You used to be the monster. You used to be the scary guy. Now I'm the scary guy. The promo before, I'll fight anyone living or dead. I mean, he's clearly talking about Taker. Let's hope Taker comes back, because I think that's a match that could be great. And once again, I think that this is one of those double-edged swords. This is one of those things where it could be lose-lose, because do you lose? Do you have a Bray Wyatt lose and possibly hurt his momentum? Or do you have Taker lose again? Which, if he loses again, he has to retire. He has to. I mean, it would almost make a Sting-Taker match pointless at WrestleMania 32, which I still think will happen. It wouldn't make it completely pointless because people would still want to see it. But with Bray Wyatt, though, there's one thing that people don't always understand about wrestling, is that you can lose without being buried. And if Bray Wyatt even loses that match, but he looks strong, if he almost beats Taker, if he takes Taker down a few times, if he just gets a strong 2.5 count, he still looks strong, and he isn't buried. He could still go on to do great things. So on that one, on that match, I really don't know who would win that. I would put Taker over, so we could have a Taker versus Sting match at 32, but I would also really want Bray Wyatt to win that to elevate him to the next level. So really, I don't know who wins that one. I would put Rollins over against Orton. I know that. I would put Ziggler over Daniel Bryan. I'm kidding, by the way, on that. I would actually put Bryan over Dolph Ziggler. But either way, on that one, it doesn't matter who wins because it would just be a stellar match. I know who would win, who I would have win, but on Wyatt and Undertaker, I have no idea. So just keep up the promos with Bray Wyatt. You don't even have to have Undertaker show up until after Fast Lane. I would have him show up at Fast Lane, and then you have Sting and Undertaker on the same card. Whoa, look out. The next one is the tag team titles. It has to do with the tag team titles because there's two things I would do, or there's something I would do and something I would not do. What I would not do is have the Ascension versus Usos for the titles. I think there's some people who want to see that, but the majority of the fans do not give a single shit about the Ascension. They do not get cheers, they don't get boos, they don't get anything because they are not impressive right now. They beat the Outlaws. Yeah, they beat the Outlaws, but the Outlaws looked more impressive than they did. That's not good. They haven't done a single impressive thing since they've come on to the main roster. And in my opinion, and this may just be my opinion, they didn't do a single impressive thing in NXT. I was in no way impressed by them. So there's that. But I think you can make them impressive, and there's two ways to go about it. With the Ascension, you can have them face Goldust and Stardust again at Fast Lane and have them win, which will start another match that I have written down, which I think that actually makes 11 matches. But if you have them beat Stardust and Goldust, if you listen to the commentary, Bradshaw is still talking shit. So you have WrestleMania, APA versus the Ascension, and have the Ascension go over APA. I think that'd be a glorious idea. But what I would do personally is have Bradshaw keep talking his shit all the way up till Fast Lane, and then have at Fast Lane Ascension versus APA, and have the Ascension go over, and the Ascension is doing their thing. You know, hey, we're the best. We're beating all these great teams, or we're beating all these supposed legends, and we are the best. We want a tag title shot. Cue the fireworks. Dudley Boys, and have Ascension versus the Dudley Boys at WrestleMania, and have the Ascension go over, or have the Dudleys completely destroy the Ascension and then repackage the Ascension. Personally, I go with the second option because the Ascension now really sucks. I mean, the shoulder pads, the face paint, it's bad. So I would definitely do the Dudleys versus Ascension. I would have the Ascension as far away from the tag team titles as possible. But speaking of the tag team titles, I didn't do the WWE thing. The way I think WWE is going to book that one, I think it's going to be Brass Ring Club versus Ascension versus Usos at WrestleMania, and I think the Ascension's going to get the title, which I think is completely asinine. I don't think that needs to happen at all. But for me, I would have it be Usos versus Brass Ring Club at WrestleMania. Brass Ring Club goes over and wins the titles because they deserve it more. They deserve it more than the Ascension. They deserve it more than the Usos. They deserve it more than any other tag team on that roster, what little tag team there is. But that does lead to Goldust and Stardust. The way I would book it is have something happen at Fastlane to where Stardust turns back into Cody Rhodes. Because Stardust gets on my ever-loving nerves now. I can't stand Stardust right now. I want Cody Rhodes back, because Cody Rhodes was always one of my favorites. And have that lead up to a Goldust versus Cody Rhodes match at WrestleMania. Fantastic. I think they'd have great chemistry. I think they put on a great match. With what I think WWE is going to do, Cody Rhodes goes over in my thing, and I think Cody Rhodes goes over at Mania. But what I think is going to happen is this dissension is going to keep happening, and we're going to have Stardust versus Goldust at WrestleMania, and Stardust is going to go over. Stardust being the heel, Goldust being the face. I still want to see that. I want to, because that's the only way that they can make me care about Stardust and Goldust again, is have those two fight. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. I would just rather it be Cody Rhodes, because I'm a big Cody Rhodes fan. Next is something that I didn't even know I wanted until Monday, or until yesterday. Ambrose versus Barrett. I hadn't even thought of that. That's sad. I hadn't even thought about Ambrose versus Barrett. I was like, what's Ambrose going to do? And they're like, and he calls out Bad News Barrett. Love it. That's fantastic. I don't even need to fantasy book this, because WWE just did it for me. Kudos to WWE for doing something like that. That was awesome. I think they fight at Fast Lane. I think Barrett goes over dirty, and then they go on to WrestleMania to fight again. And this is where the fantasy booking comes in. I would have Ambrose go over and win the title. This is another one of those double-edged swords. Do you end Bad News Barrett's title reign early, or do you halt the momentum of Ambrose, which I don't think it will, because Ambrose is hot. He's really hot right now. People love him. But I think that the WWE will have Barrett go over and keep his title, because in all reality, Ambrose doesn't need it. And in a way, I don't want Ambrose to have it, because lately that title has been a curse. It's like everyone who gets it starts losing horribly. So, I would have Ambrose win and have that title and maybe elevate the title a little, but WWE's going to do what WWE's going to do on that. We're actually running down here. What I have? Cena Rusev. This one I don't really care about, because I always said that Ryback would stop Rusev. So I'm probably going to be wrong on that. And I think it's just a really, 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 really bad idea to have Cena beat Rusev. And I think he will beat Rusev at WrestleMania. I will hope and pray that he doesn't, and I will really want the WWE to let Rusev go over here. And I just don't see it happening. At Fastlane, I think Cena wins, but he wins it dirty. He does not win that clean. But if WrestleMania rolls around and it's back to Cena and Rusev, and that title is still on the line, then Rusev's going over, because Cena's not getting that U.S. title. That title is so beneath him, and it'd be worthless to have him have that. So, if the U.S. title's on the line, Cena's not winning it. I can't really fantasy book this, because I can't fantasy book something I don't care about. If I had to fantasy book it, I would take Cena completely out of the equation and put Ryback in, because I don't think it hurts anybody to have Ryback go over. I think Cena beating Rusev kind of hurts Rusev. I think if someone's going to go over Rusev, it needs to be an up-and-comer. But I have been wrong before. Cena may make Rusev look really strong, so who knows. But I would still have Ryback do it, even though I'm not a fan of Ryback's in-ring work, and Rusev and Ryback's chemistry was almost nothing. Still, I think I would still do it. Yeah. As for the pre-show, I think I would put the Ascension and Dudley's on the pre-show. But as for the... My dog just squeaked a toy. But there's one more match, and it'd probably be the opener, or probably the cooler, who knows, is the Divas title. Fantasy booking this, I would have Nikki win very dirty at Fastlane and have Natty come to her rescue, come to Paige's rescue, and have a thing where Paige just doesn't want her help. It's like, I had this, one of those, I had it in the bag, I had it, I didn't need your help type thing. And we get Brie versus Nikki versus Paige versus Natty at WrestleMania. If I'm fantasy booking, Natty goes over. Natty wins that title, because she's only had one Divas title reign, and she's arguably the most technically sound diva out there. I mean, her and Charlotte put on a fantastic match. But what WWE's probably going to do is have Paige go over and have Paige have another title reign. Which I have no problem with that. I love Paige. I just wish they would give the title to someone new because they've been passing it between the same people for like 4 to 5 years. Bella's, AJ, Paige. They just keep passing it back and forth. And for all I know, AJ is going to be coming back, and AJ will be thrown in there because you know how they do WrestleMania with the Divas. It's always a multi-diva match. Let's just have everyone versus everyone. And then they give them 5 minutes and then wonder why the Divas don't put on a good match. So, that's how I would fantasy book WrestleMania. I mean, I think those are some pretty good matches. You stack the card, and you make people forget about that main event. Personally, I have no problem with the main event. I have no problem with Reigns and Lesnar. I have no problem with Reigns becoming the champion. Do I think he's ready? Not exactly, but I don't think, like Triple H said, I don't think anyone's ready for that spot. And I can say that anyone expecting Daniel Bryan to win at Fast Lane, to quote South Park, is going to have a bad time. I do not see Bryan winning that. Do I want to see Bryan versus Lesnar? Yeah, I really, really do. But it's just, at some point, the WWE has to stand their ground. And, you know, I hate that Daniel Bryan's been held down this whole time, but you can't completely let the fans dictate what you do on the show. Now, if people were tuning out, if the ratings dropped just plummeted, because right now the ratings are actually going up, but if the ratings plummeted, if WWE Network stuff was getting canceled left and right, then absolutely you put Daniel Bryan in there. But the thing is, people are complaining, but they're still tuning in. So there's no point in rehashing last year and shoving Daniel Bryan into the main event because people are complaining. And, I mean, I guess they could probably have some kind of weird wonky finish and then make it a triple threat match at WrestleMania, but I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see the same main event from last year, Batista versus Orton versus Daniel Bryan. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Lesnar versus Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. What I've always loved about WrestleMania is that the main event has always been one-on-one. One-on-one. It's just every now and then they'll have a four-way or three-way or something like that every now and then. But for the most part, it's always been one-on-one, and I've always enjoyed that. So, I have no problem with Reigns. None whatsoever. I feel that he's not all there in ring or on the mic, but I think he could get there. I see potential in that guy. Plus, my wife really digs him. Every time he's on, you know, she's gushing. So the ladies love him because he's hot, I guess. And I pay her back, too. Every time Paige is on, I do the same thing. It's like, oh, man, she's hot. You know, you gotta do that. But anyway, thinking WrestleMania is going to be pretty good. Fast Lane has a chance to be good. I don't know how they're going to fill out the rest of the card on Fast Lane. Really don't. So far, I think for Fast Lane there is Daniel Bryan and Reigns, Nikki and Paige, Rusev and Cena. I think that's it. And then the Triple H Sting confrontation. I'm pretty sure Dean Ambrose and Bad News Bear are going to be added to that. That's 4 matches. I'm pretty sure we're going to get Usos versus Brass Ring Club added to that. That's 5. They're used about 8 matches. So, yeah. It's going to shape up. I'm looking forward to Fastlane. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm not as looking forward to NXT TakeOver as I have been. Because really the match that I really, really, really am looking forward to is Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Something I've seen a million times before, which I could see it again a million times because they're great together. But Fastlane's looking good. WrestleMania is usually good. I mean, last year was, but so in the end, hopefully Undertaker comes back and I know that I said I hate part-timers and all that, and I did get an email about that, actually, because they were saying, oh, you were saying you wanted Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt and Sting versus Triple H, yet you bitch about part-timers. That doesn't make any sense. There's a big difference, because apparently those people don't watch SmarkCast, because I never really bitch about part-timers. I bitch about part-timers having belts. And Undertaker fighting once a year, not that bad. Undertaker fighting once a year and helping to put over younger talent, that's awesome. Sting is, he's taken up time, but this is something that needs to happen, because it wouldn't make sense to have Sting in the WWE Hall of Fame if he's never had a WWE match. So, unless you put him in a celebrity wing. So yeah, I don't really like part-timers, but I hate part-timers that take belts. Like, I love Chris Jericho, part-timer. Why do I love Chris Jericho? Because every time he comes in, it's the same thing. He comes in, beats a couple of guys, and then has a major feud with a young star that he ends up putting over. He always gets beaten in that feud. Always. And this whole tag team thing with the Ascension, the Outlaws coming back. Yeah, they're part-timers, but they're putting over younger talent. It just didn't work out that way last time because they looked really good. APA coming in to put over, I would be fine with that. Dudley's coming in to put over the Ascension. I'd be fine with that, because they aren't winning belts and they're putting over young talent. That's what I think the part-timers should be there for. This is not The Rock. The Rock comes in and gets a title, and that makes no sense. The Rock comes in and faces Cena. Yeah, he put over Cena, but that's not putting over young talent. That's putting over talent that's probably going to go away in a few years. The one thing I do commend The Rock on is kind of giving Rusev the rub. He did. He came in there. At first, I thought he was. Actually burying Rusev by watching it. And I was like, man, he just buried Rusev like bad. He didn't do anything to help Rusev. And then I watched it again, and actually, no, he really did help Rusev. He gave heat to Rusev. He kind of put his stamp of approval on Rusev. So I was wrong about that. There was no burial there. That was actually pretty cool of The Rock to do, is put over Rusev. That's another one I'd like to see. I'd like to see The Rock versus Rusev and have Rusev go over. Get his revenge. I mean, that's not going to happen, but it'd be awesome. But anyway, I digress. This is going on 30 minutes. I just fantasy booked WrestleMania and all the way through Fast Lane, which is kind of cool. Hopefully Raw will have a little more substance to it besides just 2 matches that were really, really good. So I can actually go 30 minutes about Raw, and hopefully next time. But because fantasy booking is not my thing. Fantasy booking is basically like wishing. You know, you can wish for something all you want, but it probably won't come true. But I like to add logic in my fantasy booking. A lot of people are like, I just want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk. That's fine. That's what you want to see, but why are they fighting? Why? You know, you gotta have a why. And I always do that with my fantasy booking. Like the Ziggler and Bryan thing. Why are they fighting? They really don't need it, but I'll give you one anyway, because they're not booked for anything and they're being held down by the authorities, so why not just steal the show? Show the people that they are the best. So, logic and fantasy booking. Who knew that those two could go together? It's Zen, man. It's yin and yang. Yin and yang. I've lost it. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to end this now. Thank you, Sean, once again, for giving me that idea and sort of saving this week's show. I think you may have saved it. This may have been really boring for people. Who knows? But, this is the SmarkCast. Thank you for watching.